This is Richard Fleischer, the director of this film, and it's a film that I made in 1983. I believe we shot this film, released in 1984 for the De Laurentiis Company. Mr. De Laurentiis and I have been friends for many, many years, and I've made 6 films for him. I think I'm the only director that ever survived more than one. But it was a very enjoyable film to make, very unusual, interesting problems. And I think every director jumps at the opportunity to make a film of fantasy that gives your imagination room to play more than straight reality. So I think all of us have one or two of these kind of films in their background. But they're fun to make, though sometimes very aggravating, very difficult, as every film is. But it was altogether a very interesting film. The big attraction, of course, for Mr. De Laurentiis and myself was the casting of Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the leading role of Conan. He'd already made the first Conan film, which was very, very good, and I was asked to direct the second one. And I decided after seeing the first one, which I enjoyed immensely, and thought it was extremely well done, I thought I would take a different tack with making this film and not make it so serious and so heavy. I thought that was appropriate for the first film. But with this film, I did it more for the fun of doing it and for the fun of an audience watching it. And therefore, I worked where I could. I worked comedy into this film. Appropriate comedy, but nevertheless, I was trying to take a lighter approach. Another thing that I decided on before I started shooting with Arnold was that I felt in the first film his body was covered too often and too many times. And the whole idea of having Arnold in the film was to show this magnificent build that he's got, and this great structure of muscles and sinews, and it's very startling. There's nobody in the world built like that guy, and I didn't want to cover it. So I took his clothes off, and he plays no scenes wearing any appreciable amount of clothing. But it pays off, because in some of those scenes where the character needs tremendous strength and muscle, you see it, you understand it, and it's not faked. There's an amusing thing. The first time I met Arnold was at his home before we started shooting the picture. And he was there, and he was working out with his Japanese sword master, and he was doing sword work, perfecting his technique. And I had just read Arnold's book about his biography and his autobiography, in fact, and how he worked on his muscles and how he built his body. And when his lesson was over, and we had a chat, and he said, "Is there anything that you want me to do for you?" I said, "Yes, I'd like to see more muscles. I'd like, I'd like you to," and I found the word from his book. I want to see more cuts, which is the definition between muscles. They look like cuts. And Arnold got such a big kick out of that. He said, "You're the first person in the world has ever said to me, I want to see more muscles. I want you to get more muscles." And he tells that story very frequently. I've heard him tell it many times. He just thought it was one of the most amusing things he'd ever heard. And I guess it was pretty cheeky of me to ask him to grow more muscles for this film. But I'm glad I did. And he worked on it, and he did make the definition between the muscles more clear and more definite, and therefore more unique. This location I discovered in Mexico, in northern Mexico, and it was quite filled with rubble, but I could see the shape in there of what I was looking for. So this is an actual location, and this had this very unique stone structure that was too inviting for me to pass by. It worked perfectly for the film. In the opening long shot, and I think there's one coming up, it is a little bit added to for the long shot, because I wanted this to look like a complete circle of stones around him. And in reality, it only has a half a circle. So we filled in the others with a matte shot, and a very interesting kind of matte shot. It's the only film I've ever worked on, and the only film I know about that used this particular technique of foreground miniatures, and they are astounding. The problem with them is I think there's only one man who could make the damn things, and he can't do every picture, but he really is great. He's a genius. You cannot tell the mattes in this picture because they're foreground miniatures. They're three-dimensional sets that are placed very close to the camera, 30 or 40 feet away, and they blend into the backgrounds completely. And you just cannot tell you're looking at partly a fake set. The thing that fools you too is that you can pan on and off them or tilt up and down, which you cannot do in a matte shot. Even a travel matte doesn't help you with that too much. But still, the result is wonderful, and one of the great advantages of it is that you see the result of the shot the next day when you see your dailies, and not have to wait weeks to know whether you have a good setup or a bad setup, or that there's something wrong with it. This you can tell the next morning. But they are completely convincing, and I'll point them out as we go along.
What is there, Conan? Think.
Interesting part of Conan's character, which I got out of the comic books, was that for all his power and might and strength, he's afraid of magic. And that's the only thing that he is afraid of. And I play off of that in various parts of this film. You'll see that coming up. She's getting him in her thrall because of this production of magic on command for him, which impresses him enormously.
Your god?
She sits by the side of my god. What I want, you cannot give me.
Yes, I can.
You can bring back the dead?
Do as I ask of you, and I will. Wake. And remember,
Tell me what I must do.
Soon.
And I think also it's interesting to have this added quality to the film, is that Conan is deeply in love with a woman who was killed, and he never forgets her, and he does, the whole motivation for this film is to try to bring her back from the dead. So it has a little interesting romantic depth to this film that I don't think is typical of this type of film. This location is a very, very old hacienda. And it's called a hacienda. I'm going to point out now one of the matte shots, and that's directly back, that white structure is a little tiny miniature set. You'll see it again shortly. But this hacienda had all of this wonderful structure in it, and much, much more, which we'll see later on in the film. The little comic touch put in for the relief. And this is a playback to the first Conan, where he has this battle with the camel. And this camel gets even with him because he said, "You look familiar." He got his revenge on that shot. Now that's that miniature mat in the background. This is a studio set. It's shot this at Churubusco Studios in Mexico City. It's one of the great motion picture production facilities in the world. It's an enormous studio, very well staffed, very well run. I think the look of the picture is a very interesting and unusual one. It's a mixture of a primitive society and a mystical society.
We will drink to Dagoth, the dreaming god.
We'll have a little demonstration coming up here of Arnold showing his fear of magic.
It is written in the scrolls of Skellis that a woman child born with a certain mark must make a perilous journey. It is her destiny. My niece, Jenna, has such a mark. I want you to take her on that journey.
To where?
Jenna will show you. From the day she was born, she's been prepared for this. There is a key she must find. A key only she can touch. As it was written in the scrolls of Skellis.
Where is it?
In a castle.
Guarded.
By a wizard called Toth Amon.
A wizard?
That frightens you. You're afraid of magic. And you will have to deal with it.
What good is a sword against sorcery?
Then you're afraid to go?
No. I will find a way. What does this key unlock?
The treasure. A jeweled horn. Only she can procure it. Only she can lead you to it. And when she has it, you'll bring her back to me.
Working with the actors in this film is interesting, but there was no pre-production rehearsal time. And there very rarely is in any film. You come onto the set and start rehearsing, and then you shoot it. So the normal way of making films is that way, that you just get very little rehearsal time. I like a lot of rehearsal time, And so I try to give as much to the actors as I possibly can. I have a technique that I use that everyone, when I first start, think it's a little bit wacky and a little crazy, but it works very well. And of course, by the time I'm finished with the film, everybody sees the sense of it, and particularly the actors who just love it. What I do when I come in the morning with a scene that we're going to start a new sequence, a new scene, I empty the stage of everyone except the actors. I send everybody out, get coffee or whatever, but I don't want them on the set. And I cannot give them a time when they will come back. I said, just wait. When I'm ready, I'll call you back. And then I rehearse the actors. And I do that without the crew standing around watching them. The actors feel uninhibited. If they make a mistake, it's not in front of a lot of professional people. They try different things. I try different things. I make my mistakes. They make theirs. And we work it out so that the whole sequence plays through like it was a theatrical piece, not like a movie. It's done in little pieces. But I do the whole scene finally, and the actors know their tempo. They know where they are in the scene. They know their attitudes, and they're sure of themselves. There's no more guesswork. Then I call the crew back in, and I give them a demonstration of the scene. I play this scene out with them from beginning to end. And then I find it very easy if I want to start the scene, not at the beginning of the scene, but in the middle of the scene, because it's more economical to do that. The actors know where they are, and they know what their tempo is, what their energy level is, their emotional level, and it works out just great. And in the long run, it's much quicker than rehearsing each little bit at a time and hoping it's all going to match together at the end. And I do that. I work that way. There's one other director I know of that has the same technique. And it happens that we both went to the same drama school, the Yale School of Drama. And I didn't pick it up there. I didn't learn that there, but it's something that I sort of carried over from theatrical training rather than movie training.
I believe you, but there's magic in this game. And I have to be able to fight it with magic.
Akira.
The Jack Cardiff photography is, for me, it's brilliant throughout this film. It's great shots. They look like paintings. And this was an interesting location, too. We found fairly close to Mexico City. But Jack is a genius, brilliant cameraman. I've made 5 pictures with him, and he's just great. Very modest guy, and he always says he doesn't know how he does it, but he knows very well how he does it. He always pretends he's not technical in any way, and he knows his business very well, and he's wonderful with filters, particularly. Great effects. And he makes every film look like a work of art, which it is. He's a wonderful artist himself. He's a fine painter. That shows in his work in general. It's a very painterly look. And another thing about Jack Cardiff that is very unusual for a most artistic director is that he's a very fast cameraman. He spends very little time lighting the set, doing all of that, and yet it looks like he must have spent days doing it. But he's so fast, it gets so the actors stop going back to their dressing rooms between the setups, because by the time they get there, they're being called back onto the set. He's ready. And so they just sit around waiting in director's chairs. And in a few minutes, they were back on the set. So you can go very fast with Jack. And when he does take his time, it's for a very good reason. This is a desert that's near Ciudad Juarez in Mexico, northern Mexico. And they discovered that in the first Conan, I believe, and took me out to see it. And of course, it works perfectly for us. This is an amusing location. This is right in the heart of Mexico City, believe it or not. It's the garbage dump, and it really is. And I saw it one day in passing, and I said, I want to look at that place because I could see these odd formations. And they said, you don't want to go in there. It's the city dump. And I went and looked, and I thought it'd be great. So I had it cleaned out and exposed all of these odd shapes for this sequence. That's Grace Jones wielding the mighty stick. There she is, and she was a powerhouse with that. That's my son Bruce talking to Arnold. He's a lawyer now.
After we have our fun with her.
Yeah! Don't kill her too soon!
Grace took some lessons from the swordmaster on the handling of that stick. And I want to tell you, she didn't hold back. We had a lot of injuries, a lot of people getting hit by that stick. And she had a very good time. She enjoyed it thoroughly. Everyone's a little scared of her, which they're supposed to be in the film. The casting on the picture was very interesting and a bit unusual, and that is mostly because of the excellent casting director we had, Joanna Ray. I've made several pictures with her, and she brings in unusual people for you to see for various parts, and they're not always the people you think right for the part, and that's the way she works. She tries to do off casting, which is having actors who are capable of playing roles other than the ones they have been playing, and she has a very good eye for that.
What do you want?
To come with you.
Be off.
Let me speak to Conan.
I said be off.
So when she brought in Grace Jones, or as a matter of fact, she had me meet Grace Jones in New York, where it had gone for casting purposes too. And she was not the only person we looked at. But the minute I saw Grace Jones, I said, that's the character. We can't ever do as well as this. And she certainly acquits herself tremendously well in this film. She was a pleasure to work with. She got a big kick out of doing all of this wild stuff. This is Wilt Chamberlain, and that certainly was a different kind of role for him. In fact, it was the only role. I don't believe he'd ever been in a film before. I think he acquitted himself pretty well as a complete novice as an actor, but I had some problems with Wilt.
I swear that if Conan will let me ride with him, I will give my life for him.
We shall see.
This is an interesting location because this is the top of a volcano that has a lake in the crater. And it's at an enormously high elevation. It's about 11 or 12,000 feet. So it's very difficult to shoot there. But luckily there's a road that goes, a rather good road, that goes from the bottom of the volcano up to right into the crater. This is all shot on a live location inside this crater at about 11,000 feet. And the stuntmen were falling all over the place and passing out. And it was tough shooting because you had to carry heavy equipment, and we all tried to move in slow motion so we didn't exert ourselves too much at that altitude. It could be very, very dangerous. But it was worth the effort. It's a beautiful spot. And this effect here of this huge bird, I wanted to get the feeling that it actually is flying over, as you see here. And Jack Cardiff worked out the effect. It's just a piece of cardboard that he shaped into the right shape and put in front of a bright light. And you get the feeling that the bird is actually there, and it was just a very, very simple shot to make. Jack's very good at creating See, that's the castle. That's a miniature castle. But it wasn't there at all. It was put in much later. But Jack creates effects on the set that normally you would have to do on special effects and all of that. But he rigs it up so you shoot it right then and you see it the next day. I'll point some out to you as we go along.
In the morning you will touch the heart of every man. The first to do so in 1,000.
This entire sequence was a great challenge for all of us because there's this hall of mirrors. It's got the entire room is made of mirrors. And there is the sequence where Arnold discovers, or Conan discovers, that this wizard that is he has to fight is actually in all of the mirrors. It's a difficult concept to visualize on the screen. But whenever he strikes a mirror and breaks it, it does an injury to this wizard. And I think that's very clear. But what I was looking for was multiple images on the screen so that he doesn't know, Arnold doesn't know which mirror the wizard is in. And when we were laying out the scene, they said, how are you going to shoot this? I haven't any idea. Just give me a lot of mirrors and we'll do each set up as a pure invention, because there's no way to plan it. How can you plan 16, 18 reflections in mirrors? You just have to jiggle around with them until you get the effect you want, and then start crashing the mirrors. It was a little bit dangerous too, because Arnold was crashing these mirrors and there was glass flying all over the place. So we had to teach him how to do it safely. But that doesn't show. This film has some remarkably beautiful and imaginative sets, and I'm very proud of the way the picture looks. Special effects have changed enormously since the time we made this film. But I don't think you make the film look any better than we've made it look. I think some of the new computer-generated special effects are very good. They're quite fantastic and unbelievable. But I also think the things we did before that were pretty damn good too.
Stay here if you like.
Alone? They need me.
This was shot, the underwater stuff was shot at the Churubusco Studios, where they have a tank. And that's where we did it. So we have a little underwater photography in this too. It wasn't exactly 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but kind of a drop in the ocean here. This was a dangerous shot to make because there was no escape in the middle of it. It had to go from the beginning of this tunnel to the end. And if something went wrong during the underwater swim, there was no way out. You had to go to the front end or the rear end. And nobody could, you couldn't do anything except get out. So there's no escape hatch. This is an ice house. It's an ice palace. Now this is a remarkable miniature. There's really very little of this actually built. Only the part they're walking on, that stairway, that was built. All the rest of it was a miniature set. This is real. This was done at Churubusco Studios. But this is a matte shot. Not really a matte shot. It's a shot that the foreground miniatures. And this shot is, to me, an amazing shot. And all there is a little narrow bridge where they're standing, and on the left side, as you see these figures walking now, that's just a little narrow walkway. All the rest of it we put in on the set. We were shooting this miniature in the foreground. And of course, seeing their breaths is done with a little cage of dry ice in the actors' mouths. Giving away all the secrets here. Now this is the mirror sequence that I referred to earlier. Now the wizard appears in every one of those mirrors. And the interesting part to me is that it isn't a matte shot or a miniature shot. I used real actors in every one of those, in every one of those windows.
Fine magician you are. Go
I like it. Our wizard doesn't always work. Things don't work for him. Now this is all, each one is done by a live individual actor. And it did a bit of choreography working here to make it look right. This, of course, is an optical shot, optical effect. So he's gathering all the images into one figure. Now the actor that plays the wizard is doing this part too. I mean, it's supposed to be the same man as the wizard, and it is. And he's enormously strong because he is working with Arnold, who is no lightweight. And you'll see in this sequence that he picks up Arnold and throws him around. There's no trick to that. I mean, he's just doing it. He's an old friend of Arnold's. He's recommended him to us. Now look at this. Not many people can pick up Arnold Schwarzenegger and toss him around. This, of course, is a trick. This is what we call a ghost shot. The figure that's a reflection of the man who was standing next to Arnold. And that's a piece of glass. And it's an optical illusion. It was done on the set. It's one of Jack Cardiff's inventions. Look at this. Took him right, carrying him over his shoulder like that. It's an enormously powerful man. You couldn't really plan directing this sequence. You just had to make it up as you go along and see what looks good and shoot it.
That's exactly what I would have done. Exactly.
I had a lot of fun making this. I enjoyed it. They say if you break a mirror, it's 7 years hard luck. Now, Arnold's in for about 2,000 years of bad luck. But the saying doesn't seem to be coming true at all.
There are only two left, wizard. And you're behind one of them. Which one?
all right.
As you've probably noticed, this film has a lot of special effects in it, optical effects and other kind of special effects, like this shot, the collapse. But I've been very lucky with doing films. I enjoy doing films with the special effects. I started with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea for the Walt Disney Company, and that film won an Oscar for the special effects. And another film was Dr. Dolittle, which won the Oscar, and Tora Tora Tora, which won an Oscar, and Fantastic Voyage, of course. There's 4 films I've made with a lot of special effects, and every one of them has won an Oscar, so I'm a bit proud of that. And mind you, all of these were done before the new techniques have started with computer graphics and computer special effects. But still, I think the work we did, the old-fashioned way, was quite commendable. As a matter of fact, the great genius of this technique was Bill Abbott, who was at 20th Century Fox for many years. And he wrote a book about making special effects. Of course, he was the dean of that optical effect business. And he comments on the title of his book, as he says, the wire, tape, and rubber band style, which means, you do it with Scotch tape and spit, and you still come out, if you're really a genius at it, you come out with something that wins Academy Awards. So these films I think, are extremely well done by the optical special effects people. The interesting part about working with effects like that are that you have to plan them months and months in advance. You have to know exactly what you're going to do several months from the time that you plan it. And when you get to do it, you can't change it. You have to be right the first time with your planning. This interesting location that's also not too far from Mexico City. It's about a day's ride out. And that peculiar rock structure in the center of the field made it very appetizing for me. I couldn't resist it. And all of these sword fights are for real because they have to hit hard with those swords. And if they miss, they can do real damage. And also the swords have a tendency to break, and sometimes a flying edge of a sword will come at you. So these scenes have danger to them. Thing that I learned early on about directing scenes like that with dangerous stunts is that the real danger is trying to get too much into one shot. You can rehearse a sequence with using 2 good sword hits, and you can rehearse that until it's perfect, and nobody can make a mistake, nobody can forget to do something or to duck. Or when you get into 3 and 4 sword strokes in a row, you're getting in dangerous territory. Somebody's liable to get hurt. Because somebody will mistime, forget. Arnold was awfully good with the sword, the broadsword.
Why did they attack us?
Not by her order.
So I found if you do 2 or 3 well-rehearsed sword hits, you can do very well and make it look good and not put everybody in danger.
Wait. This is much better. Akiro's own magic mixture. Let me help you.
The only picture I made that was completely storyboarded was the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And that was done because of the special effects. When you do special effects, you have to storyboard. But I, as a rule, do not use a storyboard. Only on special sequences where it's complex and or dangerous, and you want everyone to know exactly what that scene is going to look like. So those are the reasons you do that. Usually it's to storyboard a matte shot, because you have to work within certain boundaries in a matte. If you go over the boundary, then you're out of the matte. Suddenly you don't have a head or an arm. But it's storyboarding I don't really believe in, except for these complicated fight scenes, complicated chases. Then you really have to have a storyboard to let everybody know what you're going to do. But storyboards have to be very carefully planned.
What will you do?
Find my kingdom and a queen to sit beside me.
What kingdom?
The promise I was kingdomed. No, the kingdom I was promised.
What queen?
Valeria.
The most difficult role to cast was the young princess. And I looked at everybody that I could in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and of course in Hollywood, and made screen tests of the people that I felt had possibilities. But Olivia d'Abo just outshone everybody else, and just had the princess, spoiled princess kind of quality that I was looking for. She's a very beautiful young girl, and with a beautiful figure, and quite a good actress. In fact, quite an excellent actress for someone her age and experience. So I think she adds a lot to this film.
Another queen? Lad on your knife.
And Arnold, of course, was just great to work with. The most cooperative actor you could imagine. He had no ego. His humor is putting himself down, belittling himself. I think he's very good in this drunk sequence. He plays that very well, and he wasn't as much of an actor then that he is now. So I think he carries this scene off extremely well.
How do you feel?
Making a sequel to a successful film has its dangers. It's usually a very dangerous thing to do because the sequel is rarely up to the original. So that was a challenge for me, is to make the sequel work. And that's why, as I think I said earlier, I've laced the picture with humor, and to lighten it and make it different from the original. And also, there are certain hangovers that we use in this story that ties it in better with the original, the first of the stories of the Conan pictures.
It takes practice and strength.
Wait!
The Valeria character, who is at least mentioned in this film, or shown in a funeral pyre, is one of the elements. The other one is the camel that spits on Arnold. So we make references to the first Conan, and not try to ignore it or do something completely different than the first.
Swing it over your head. Oh, I'll help you. Swing over your head.
But still keep individuality for this that makes it uniquely itself.
Now you're ready to take on anybody.
This is another location up in the northern Mexico. We're very fortunate in finding these very odd, surreal kind of backgrounds for this picture.
Suppose you set your heart on somebody. What would you do to get him?
And stylistically, it has an interesting, to me, it has an interesting, strange look.
And take him.
Take him! Like that?
What did she mean?
What did she say?
Well, she said that if she wanted a man, she'd reach out and take him.
Good idea.
But then what? I mean, you've got him. What do you do with him?
That's easy. You see, you see, in order for a man to really know a woman, and for her to know him, they have to join.
Join.
Get together. You see, he has to take his and grab her by the, there you are. Join. I mean, how do you think flowers grow?
Through this?
Yes.
Is this the only way?
Yes.
We can't go around it.
I go where I feel myself led.
So I've noticed.
We're coming up here on another one of those foreground miniatures. Didn't have much clothes on Grace Jones either. That's a foreground miniature. It's a very small piece. It's about 10, 12 feet from the camera lens. It's all just playing with perspective. One of the difficulties with the foreground miniatures is that they take a long time to build, and a crew has to go out and build that little set. It takes them weeks sometimes, and get it exactly right, lined up against the background they want it to blend into. Then when you shoot it, you have to shoot it at a certain time of day so that the shadows that are actually painted on the miniature are the same shadows that are naturally being projected on the rest of the set by nature. So you have a limited time, and if a cloud goes over at the wrong moment, you're dead. Or if it's too windy, it shakes the miniature set. So you have to hold your breath and get it right the first time. Now this is a set, Churubusco. They did a beautiful job with this, as you will see shortly. There's a little joke I put in here of this very brave Grace Jones. She's afraid of a mouse or a rat. With all the bravado that she has.
Shouldn't one of us go back and stand guard?
This is where I had an opportunity to display Arnold's muscular structure. It's quite spectacular, as you shall see. Look at those arms.
Here, let me help.
Alec, go inside and see if there's a lock.
You mean in there?
Go!
I found something. Let go. Easy.
Dino De Laurentiis is one of the spectacular showmen and actually a great producer. And he watches the money and he watches the time, but he will not put pressure on you. Sometimes he makes a lot of noise, but you've got to understand that this is just the way he expresses himself. And I've gotten along for many years, 30 years or more with Dino. And it's always been a pleasure. Sometimes some aggravation, of course, but you get that at any time. But Dino does what he can to give you what you want when you need it. And he doesn't abide by overspending. He won't let you overspend. But he's very sensible, very realistic about what the picture should be and the way you are handling it. But he will give you everything you need, because mostly he is looking for quality in his films. And it's a very noble thing to have. It's a great goal to have. So he's not at all against your experimenting or actually he does during the production of the picture. You hear from Dino very, very little. He sees the dailies, and most of the time you don't even hear from him. No news is good news. So, or if he likes it, he tells you that he likes it. So we've had a very good relationship for many, many years. I treasure that. We have had our arguments. We've sued each other. We've done a lot of crazy things, but we've stayed friends, which is the main thing.
Stop her! The whole
Be silent!
This whole thing is a set, of course. Churubusco Studios. The way you normally do it, I think is the way we did, was to shoot your exteriors first and get them over with. And then you can concentrate on your interiors, because it'd be a shame to do your interiors when the weather is very good and then have to move out in bad weather. So you take advantage of the weather by doing your exteriors first. Once you get that roof over your head, you're in much better shape as far as time and effort and luck is concerned. Of course, it's always good to have a cover set in case the weather turns, as it frequently does. You have some place to go to keep shooting instead of waiting for the weather to clear up. We didn't have too many choices on this picture. Locations really had no cover.
Death to the world.
Except at the hacienda, they did.
The girl's destiny isn't only to deliver the horn.
It's just writing on the wall.
She is to be killed, sacrificed.
We shall see. Destiny or not. Everybody out! Out!
Wait! It's worth a fortune!
Very rarely when you're shooting a picture, at least in my experience, that I knew what the next picture was going to be or if there would be a next picture, which is most directors fear that they'll never work again. But I've been very lucky, and no, when I was making this film, we had no idea that there would be a follow-up to this with Red Sonja. But after I completed this picture, then Dino started talking to me about doing what he was calling the female Conan. And I like that idea too. It's a very good idea. The Conans were hugely successful, and it's only now that the women are beginning to get action films in which they star. This picture is way ahead of its time. And it was a forerunner of, I mean, not this picture, but the Red Sonja film that she made after this was a forerunner of the kind of things that are being done today, where a woman is in command and is the strong figure, the strong action figure. That's why I wanted to make that film. I thought we'll be first, but it didn't really take for a while. But now it's working.
Back to the crypt!
Coming up is a shot where Conan just squeezes in under the descending door, and that was shot in reverse. You have start the shooting with the door down and him leaning up against it, and then you raise the door and he rolls the opposite way, but you shoot this the shot. So it looks like a near miss. We started with the door down and him lying there. And then do the whole thing in reverse and shoot camera running in reverse.
Behind the dragon, there's a tunnel. It could be our only way out.
The jewel, take the jewel. Hurry, hurry.
The rays coming out of the crystal. It's one part of Jack Cardiff's magic. He got the right light in the right place, and those are real light beams coming out of it. Took a little while to get it, but it was worth doing it that way. This is an amusing sequence that we devised, again, to give humor in serious moments, is the duel between the two wizards, as to try to keep the mouth of that monster idol, keep it shut or open. And this wizard is raising it, and now we get our wizard trying to keep it down.
He's forcing the mouth open.
Well, stop him. Kill him or something.
My dagger's gone. You kill him.
Not me. It's bad luck to kill a wizard.
Wait.
There's a better way to take care of a wizard.
That was the duel of the wizards.
Well done, Akira. Into the tunnel.
This tunnel is a set in the studio, but the exterior is done in a different outside location, as you will see.
Run! Run!
Where are the others?
They're coming. Don't worry. Go!
I think the film was well reviewed. It was reviewed for what it is. It's not a serious drama. It's it's a fun piece of movie making and use of imagination. So, and I believe it was quite a successful picture. Did very well at the box office.
Let's flee.
Wait. Bombarda took her. Tarama's planned it from the beginning. We get the horn.
Enough so that
Guards will kill us.
when we did Red Sonja, that we had Arnold Schwarzenegger in that as well. So that was a big plus for the film.
Where are we going?
To Shadisar.
What for?
To stop chain of sacrifice.
But it's her destiny. It can't be stopped.
You don't have to come.
I will.
I will.
I won't! I mean, what's in it for us? What are we, some charitable institution? We're thieves! Go! I won't help. Hey! Hey, wait for me! You know you can't do without me! Go, go! Wait, Conan, wait!
My advice to would-be filmmakers, if they want to be directors, is not to worry about going to film schools. Should go to a drama school, because the director's biggest contribution to a film is the actors' performances. And I believe that in film schools, that's the least important element that you'll work with or learn there. When in fact, if you want to be a director, you should concentrate on learning how to work with actors. Because when you get on a set, even for the first time, you're surrounded with experts and professionals who won't let you go too far astray, unless you're pig-headed and want to go the wrong way. But what nobody can do for you is help you get a performance from an actor. So you have to be able to be at ease with actors and know how to reach each one individually. And that's more important than knowing what filter to use or what kind of light or what kind of shadow you're looking for. The main thing is getting performance. And you can have a beautiful picture, but with lousy performances, you don't have much. So my advice, contrary to a lot of other people's, is that don't worry about how to make the movie, worry about how to get the performance. Of course, if the more you know about making movies, the better off you're going to be. Because it's my theory, and it's the way I work, is that I want every element of the picture, of the production, to help tell the story you're trying to tell. Every element has to, including the kind of lens you use for certain scenes, the kind of filters, the wardrobe, everything is there to help you tell the story. And you got to know how to use that compositionally on the screen. You have to know and work with composition and artistic effects, but that are not there for their own benefit. Those things, it's a good composition, but it's telling a story. It's there for a reason.
Ow! My cousin's sister's brother never said anything about bars. How do we get back up?
The bars were put up after your sister's brother's cousin.
This was all in the hacienda. They had this wonderful labyrinth kind of cells and corridors down in the bottom of it, which we used too. We used a lot of this this set was very, very valuable. That waterfall was very, very close by to this set.
At the first sign of life in her god, the girl must be sacrificed. Or as the scrolls of Skelos say, a catastrophe will befall us.
This is all in the bottom of the hacienda. It's a remarkable location. Very, very useful. And again, it was a cover set. It was shooting around it outside. If the weather turned bad, we could duck in here. It's an old hacienda. It's a huge place. I guess they made wine there too. And nearby there was a very good country hotel. Very good accommodations. So we were quite comfortable there, but it was a wonderful place to work, because I prefer the real locations rather than sets. That's a foreground miniature too. And this.
Kill her! Save the girl!
I use violence, I've used it in a lot of pictures, but not too graphic. And I think you let the imagination do a lot of the work for you, and you imagine things worse than they are. This film is unusually graphic for me. I took more liberties that way than I normally do. But in some films, everybody thinks they're very, very graphic. You know, a film like The Vikings that I directed everyone thinks of that as a very, very bloody, violent film. Well, it has violence, but there's no blood in the picture whatsoever. There's only one shot of blood, is when Kirk Douglas puts his hand over his eye, which has been attacked by a hawk, and some blood runs down between his fingers, and that's all. Other than that, we've got all these Viking battles and everything else, and no blood. Everybody talks about Tony Curtis's hand being cut off. You don't see it. That happens off screen. But it's set up so vividly that they think they see it. This film's got much more blood in it than I normally have. This was a very difficult sequence to make with that monster. Very, very tough. There are actually 6 people manipulating that the monster, working the arms, the mouth, the eyes. They're all working off camera. A little bit of slow motion thrown in there. Lightning strokes, of course, were put in after we had shot it. That's a foreground miniature.
Zula. I need a captain of the guards. I see no reason why a woman wouldn't do as well as a man.
Well, so the adventure comes to an end. This is actually the last thing we shot in the picture, which is unusual, that you finished shooting the last scene. But I had a wonderful crew, and I want to thank particularly Frank Uriasti, who was the editor of the film. He did a magnificent job. Of course, Jack Cardiff's work is so obvious and outstanding. But the wonderful stunt people, we had Vic Armstrong as a genius stunt coordinator. I've done several pictures with him and with Frank Uriasti as well. So it was a really interesting project to work with, and challenges all the way down the line all the time. And it's not a serious film, but it's kind of real movie making. And this is really what movies are about, to bring onto the screen something that you have never experienced or have never seen before, and giving you another world to live in for a couple of hours where you've never been before, and had some fun being there.
Who will shut his all with me?
I will have my own kingdom, my own queen.
So it was that Conan mourned his lost Valeria. At length he sought adventure in distant lands and trod the jeweled thrones of the earth beneath his sandaled feet. Until at last he found his own kingdom and wore his crown upon a troubled brow.
Well, I've enjoyed reminiscing with you about this film. I hope you found it interesting and somewhat enlightening, and that you could participate in some way in the feeling of getting to know this picture better. And I enjoyed talking to you about it, and hope that you've enjoyed it too. Thank you.